In the quaint town of Hollow Creek, there stood an unassuming thrift shop named Yesterday's Treasures. One gloomy afternoon, a young woman named Anya wandered into the shop, her heart set on finding a unique piece to brighten her apartment. As she rounded a corner, her gaze fell upon an ornately carved antique mirror propped against a stack of dusty books. Its silver surface was tarnished with age, its intricate frame adorned with strange symbols that seemed to writhe and shift in the dim light. An inexplicable chill ran down Anya's spine as her reflection flickered into existence, but something about it seemed off. Anya, captivated by the shopkeeper's words, found herself drawn to the mirror's enigmatic aura. Despite the unsettling feeling it evoked, she couldn't shake the strange connection she felt to the mirror, as if it had been waiting for her. "How much?" Anya asked, her voice a mere whisper in the stillness of the shop. The shopkeeper named a surprisingly low price, as if eager to be rid of the eerie artifact. Anya didn't hesitate. She paid for the mirror and carried it out of the shop, feeling a strange sense of foreboding. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting the street in an eerie twilight glow. As she glanced at her reflection once more before stepping into her car, she thought she saw a fleeting image, a figure lurking in the shadows behind her. But when she turned around, there was nothing there. Back in her dimly lit apartment, Anya placed the antique mirror on a dresser in her living room. The room seemed to darken as soon as the mirror arrived, an inexplicable chill settling over the air. As she stepped back to admire the mirror, she noticed something strange. Her reflection seemed different. The eyes, usually reflecting her own warm brown, seemed to hold a flicker of something else, a cold, vacant stare that sent a shiver down her spine. Over the next few days, Anya tried to ignore the unsettling feeling that seemed to emanate from the mirror. She would catch glimpses of movement in the reflection, fleeting shadows that danced at the edge of her vision. One evening, as Anya was preparing for bed, she paused at the doorway of her living room, drawn by an inexplicable pull towards the antique mirror. Her reflection flickered in the erratic light, and for a moment, Anya could have sworn she saw a figure standing behind her, a tall, shadowy silhouette with eyes that glowed an eerie white. Anya froze, her breath catching in her throat. Slowly she turned, every nerve ending on high alert, but the room was empty. She chided herself for letting her imagination run wild. Despite her attempts to rationalize her fear, Anya couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. She hurried to her bedroom, her mind racing with unsettling possibilities. As she lay in bed, the storm raging outside, she found herself staring at the ceiling, listening intently for any sound that might indicate she wasn't alone. Exhaustion finally claimed her, but her sleep was far from peaceful. Nightmares plagued her, filled with images of shadowy figures and echoing whispers. She woke with a start, drenched in a cold sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. As she lay in the darkness, trying to calm her racing mind, she heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible above the creaking of the old building. Anya cautiously climbed out of bed, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. Armed with nothing but a flickering candle, she crept towards the living room, each step filled with a growing sense of dread. The whisper grew louder as she approached the living room, transforming into a low, mournful sob. The antique mirror now pulsed with an eerie internal glow. The reflection staring back at her was no longer her own. It was the face of another woman, her features obscured by time and decay, her eyes wide with terror. Anya watched in horrified fascination as the woman in the mirror turned, her movements jerky and unnatural. The scene in the mirror shifted, transporting Anya to a dimly lit room. The woman from the mirror stood in the center of the room, her back to Anya, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. As Anya watched, mesmerized and terrified, the scene in the mirror flickered once more, the images flashing by too quickly for her to process. Anya scrambled back from the mirror, her heart pounding in her chest. She was trapped in the grip of terror, her mind replaying the horrifying scenes she had witnessed in the mirror's reflection. Who was that woman, and what had happened to her? The question echoed in the silence of the apartment. She wanted to dismiss it all as a hallucination, but deep down, Anya knew what she had seen was real. A cold, unsettling certainty settled over her. The mirror was not just a window to the past, it was a doorway. Fear warred with curiosity, urging her to delve deeper into the mystery of the mirror and the woman trapped within its depths. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the gaps in the curtains, Anya made a decision. She would uncover the truth behind the antique mirror and the woman trapped within its reflection. Determined to unravel the mystery of the antique mirror, Anya sought out the one person in town who might have some answers, Mr. Hawthorne, the town's resident historian. Mr. Hawthorne, a man who seemed as ancient as the town itself, lived in a rambling Victorian home on the outskirts of Hollow Creek. His study, filled with antique maps, faded photographs, and leather-bound journals, was a testament to his lifelong fascination with the town's rich and often unsettling history. Anya, clutching a worn notebook and a faded photograph of the woman from the mirror, nervously approached Mr. Hawthorne's home. The old house seemed to creak and groan under the weight of its secrets. Mr. Hawthorne, his eyes twinkling with a mixture of curiosity and caution, welcomed Anya into his home. He listened intently as she recounted her chilling encounter with the antique mirror, his gaze fixed on the photograph in her trembling hands. When she finished her story, a heavy silence descended upon the room. Mr. Hawthorne, his expression unreadable, slowly reached for a worn leather-bound journal. "The mirror you describe," he began, "is no ordinary artifact. It holds within its depths the echoes of a tragedy that has haunted this town for over a century." Anya listened with bated breath as Mr. Hawthorne began to recount the tragic tale of Eleanor Vane. He spoke of a time when Hollow Creek was a bustling hub of industry and ambition. Eleanor, he explained, was the wife of a prominent businessman, a man whose wealth and influence masked a heart consumed by greed. She was known for her beauty, her kindness, and her unwavering devotion to her husband. Their home, a grand Victorian mansion, was the epitome of wealth and elegance, but behind its closed doors, a darkness festered. Eleanor, trapped in a loveless marriage and haunted by her husband's cruelty, found solace in her art. Anya realized that Eleanor's story was not just a tragic tale of love and loss. It was a mystery shrouded in secrets, a puzzle with missing pieces that only the antique mirror seemed to hold. According to Mr. Hawthorne's research, Eleanor's disappearance coincided with the arrival of a mysterious antique mirror in her home, a gift from her husband, a man whose motives were as murky as the secrets he kept hidden. The mirror, he explained, had a dark reputation, whispered to have originated from a foreign land, its ornate frame adorned with symbols that spoke of ancient rituals and forgotten deities. Some whispered that the mirror was cursed, a conduit to a realm beyond human comprehension, a gateway through which darkness could seep into the world of the living. Eleanor, her spirit already burdened by her husband's cruelty, found herself drawn to the mirror's enigmatic allure. She would spend hours gazing into its depths, seeking solace in its silent reflection, unaware of the darkness that lurked beneath its polished surface. Her paintings, once filled with vibrant colors and life, took on a darker, more unsettling tone, reflecting the growing fear and paranoia that consumed her. Anya, studying the photograph of Eleanor, noticed a change in her demeanor in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Her eyes, once filled with a gentle warmth, now held a haunted, almost frantic look, as if she were desperately searching for a way out of a nightmare she couldn't escape. The journal entries from that time period, written in Eleanor's own hand, painted a chilling picture of a woman slowly unraveling, her grip on reality slipping away with each passing day. She wrote of strange occurrences in the house, shadows that seemed to move on their own, whispers that echoed through the empty hallways, and a constant feeling of being watched, of being surrounded by unseen eyes. Her nightmares, once fleeting and easily dismissed, became vivid and terrifying, filled with images of shadowy figures, menacing whispers, and a sense of impending doom that clung to her like a shroud. She wrote of seeing things in the mirror's reflection, fleeting glimpses of a world beyond her understanding, a world where darkness reigned and shadows held sway. Her once beloved art became her only refuge, her paintbrush a weapon against the growing darkness that threatened to consume her. Intrigued and horrified, Anya listened as Mr. Hawthorne revealed Eleanor's disturbing self-portrait. Eleanor's final work was too raw, too terrifying to display. The painting vanished after her disappearance, shrouded in mystery. Anya felt compelled to find it, believing it held answers. The mirror connected her to Eleanor's torment, drawing her into a web of terror. As the day faded, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Anya thanked Mr. Hawthorne and reluctantly prepared to leave. The weight of Eleanor's story settled upon her shoulders. Anya stepped out into the cool evening air, the scent of rain heavy. The old house seemed to watch her go. Walking back towards town, Anya felt she was being followed. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying Eleanor's despair. Anya glanced over her shoulder, but the street was deserted. The antique mirror in her car seemed to pulsate with strange energy. That night, sleep offered no escape from haunting images. Her dreams were a chaotic jumble of memories and Eleanor's terrified face. She woke with a gasp, the feeling of unseen eyes stronger than ever. The room was dark, the only sound the rain against the windowpane. Anya reached for the lamp, her hand trembling. As the lamp chased away the shadows, Anya noticed something chilling, a single white rose, its petals still damp with dew. The rose was a stark contrast to the chilling fear that gripped Anya's heart. She hadn't bought any flowers and she lived alone. A cold, unsettling certainty washed over her. Eleanor Vane, trapped within the mirror, was reaching out. Driven by fear and determination, Anya delved into the mystery of Eleanor Vane and the antique mirror. She scoured archives, searching for any mention of the missing self-portrait. Her efforts proved futile. The self-portrait remained elusive. Exhausted, Anya revisited the antique shop, hoping for answers. The shopkeeper's reaction to the mirror hinted at hidden knowledge. Anya, noticing his unease, wondered if he knew more. The mirror seemed to hum with strange energy as she drove. The closer she got, the more intense the feeling became. The bell above the shop door jingled as Anya entered. The shopkeeper looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. He seemed startled, his gaze lingering on the mirror. Anya wondered if the shopkeeper knew more than he let on. Perhaps he too had glimpsed the terror within its depths. "You again," he rasped. "Back for more treasures?" Anya hesitated, unsure how to approach the subject of the mirror. She settled on a neutral question, hoping to gain his trust. "I was wondering if you could tell me more about the mirror's previous owners." The shopkeeper's gaze darted towards the antique mirror, his expression unreadable. He seemed to hesitate, as if weighing his words, considering the consequences of revealing what he knew. Anya held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken truths and long-buried secrets. Finally, the shopkeeper sighed, his frail shoulders slumping under the weight of what he was about to reveal. "The house," he began, his voice barely a whisper, "belonged to the Vane family. Or at least it did, a long time ago. It's been abandoned for decades, ever since—" He trailed off, his gaze fixed on a distant point beyond Anya's shoulder, as if reliving a memory too painful to share. Anya, her pulse quickening, pressed him for more information. "Ever since what?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What happened to the Vane family?" The shopkeeper shook his head slowly, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and fear. "Some things," he murmured, "are best left buried. Some stories are better left untold." He turned away, busying himself with rearranging a shelf of dusty trinkets, clearly dismissing Anya's questions. But Anya, her curiosity piqued and her determination unwavering, refused to let it go. She had come too far, delved too deep into the mystery, to be deterred by cryptic warnings and veiled threats. "Please," Anya pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. "I know this is important, I know it's connected to the mirror, to Eleanor Vane. I need to know what happened to her. I need to help her." The shopkeeper stopped, his frail hand hovering over a tarnished silver locket. He turned back towards Anya, his eyes searching hers, as if gauging her sincerity, her willingness to face the darkness that lay ahead. "You believe in spirits, then?" he asked, his voice barely audible above the ticking of an old grandfather clock in the corner. Anya hesitated, unsure how to answer. She had always been a pragmatist, a woman of logic and reason. But her encounter with the antique mirror, the chilling visions, the whispers that seemed to seep from its depths, had shaken her beliefs to their core. She found herself questioning everything she thought she knew, her mind open to possibilities that once seemed impossible. "I believe," she said slowly, choosing her words carefully, "that there are things in this world we don't fully understand. Things that exist beyond our perception, beyond our ability to explain. I believe that Eleanor Vane is trying to reach out to tell her story, and I believe that this mirror is the key." The shopkeeper nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the antique mirror, his expression unreadable. "If you truly seek answers," he said finally, his voice raspy with age and the weight of countless untold stories, "then you must be willing to confront the darkness. You must be willing to listen to the whispers of the dead." He led Anya to a small, dimly lit room at the back of the shop, its air thick with the scent of incense and the faint aroma of lavender. A circular table draped in a velvet cloth dominated the center of the room, surrounded by mismatched chairs. Candles flickered in ornate holders, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The shopkeeper, his movements slow and deliberate, began arranging objects on the table: a crystal ball, a deck of tarot cards, a worn leather-bound book. He lit a stick of incense, its smoke curling towards the ceiling, filling the room with a heady, almost intoxicating aroma. Anya watched, her heart pounding in her chest, a mixture of fear and anticipation coursing through her veins. She was about to cross a threshold, to venture into a realm where the veil between the living and the dead thinned, where secrets whispered on the wind in the past had the power to reach out and touch the present. The air in the room crackled with anticipation as the shopkeeper, his voice low and melodic, began to chant in a language Anya didn't recognize. The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and twist like living things. Anya closed her eyes, focusing on the sound of the shopkeeper's voice, on the rhythmic beat of her own heart. She felt a strange energy building in the room, a palpable shift in the atmosphere, as if the veil between the worlds was thinning, becoming permeable. A cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing several of the candles and sending a shiver down Anya's spine. She opened her eyes, her gaze drawn to the antique mirror, which now pulsed with an eerie internal glow. The reflection staring back at her was no longer her own. It was Eleanor Vane, her face pale and ethereal, her eyes wide with a mixture of sadness and urgency. Her lips moved, forming words Anya couldn't hear, her voice a silent plea for help. "Eleanor," the shopkeeper intoned, his voice deep and resonant, "we hear you. We are here to listen." The mirror's surface rippled, like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. Images flickered within its depths. The grand Victorian mansion, shrouded in darkness, a shadowy figure lurking in the background, a flash of blinding light, followed by an echoing scream. Anya watched, mesmerized and terrified, as fragments of Eleanor's story unfolded before her eyes, each image a piece of the puzzle, a clue leading her closer to the truth. Then, as suddenly as it began, the vision faded. The candles flickered back to life, casting a warm glow on the now still surface of the antique mirror. The shopkeeper, his face beaded with perspiration, collapsed back in his chair, his chest heaving. Anya, her heart pounding in her chest, struggled to comprehend what she had just witnessed. The visions, though fragmented and fleeting, had revealed something crucial, a piece of the puzzle that had been missing. The shadowy figure, the flash of light, the echoing scream, they all pointed to a horrifying truth. Eleanor Vane's disappearance was not a tragic accident, it was murder. A wave of nausea washed over Anya as the realization struck her with the force of a physical blow. She had stumbled into something far darker, far more sinister than she could have ever imagined. The antique mirror was not just a window to the past, it was a prison, holding captive the tormented soul of a murdered woman, and she, Anya, had unknowingly become entangled in its web of secrets, her destiny intertwined with Eleanor Vane's unfinished business. The shopkeeper, his breathing returning to normal, reached out a trembling hand and touched Anya's arm. "You have seen what you needed to see," he whispered, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Now you must be careful. The truth, it can be a dangerous thing. Some secrets are better left buried." His words, both a warning and a plea, echoed in Anya's ears as she left the antique shop, the weight of her newfound knowledge heavy on her shoulders. The days that followed were a blur of fear and determination for Anya. The antique mirror's presence loomed large in her apartment, a constant reminder of the darkness she had unearthed. It was as if the very air in her home had grown heavy, thick with an unseen energy that pressed against her, suffocating her. Sleep offered no escape, for her dreams were haunted by Eleanor Vane, her sorrowful eyes pleading for justice. The white rose, a chilling token from beyond the grave, wilted on her bedside table, its sweet aroma replaced by decay. The once comforting familiarity of her apartment had transformed into a sinister echo chamber, amplifying her every fear. Anya found herself talking to Eleanor, pouring out her fears, her frustrations, her unwavering determination to uncover the truth. It was a one-sided conversation, but somehow it brought her a strange sense of comfort, a feeling that she was not alone. Anya tried to return to her normal routine, to lose herself in the mundane tasks of everyday life. She went to work, forcing a smile as she interacted with colleagues who were oblivious to the terror that gnawed at her sanity. She went grocery shopping, her heart pounding in her chest as she navigated the brightly lit aisles, feeling the weight of unseen eyes following her every move. But the normalcy she craved was elusive, a fleeting illusion shattered by the constant reminders of Eleanor's presence. The antique mirror, despite Anya's attempts to conceal it beneath a white sheet, seemed to pulsate with a dark energy, its presence impossible to ignore. She would catch glimpses of movement in the periphery of her vision, fleeting shadows that danced at the edge of her awareness, whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls of her apartment. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and Anya found herself questioning her own sanity, wondering if she was slowly losing her grip on the world she thought she knew. Anya's research continued with renewed urgency. She spent countless hours at the library, poring over historical archives, scouring old newspapers for any mention of Eleanor Vane, her husband, or the mysterious self-portrait. Anya, undeterred, decided to visit the mansion, hoping to find something, anything, that would shed light on Eleanor's fate. She couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being watched, that unseen eyes tracked her every move. She hesitated, her hand hovering over the knocker, but something, perhaps Eleanor's desperate plea for justice, spurred her forward. She had come too far to turn back now. Anya knocked on the door, the sound echoing through the silent house. She waited, holding her breath, but there was no answer. She tried the doorknob, surprised to find it unlocked. With determination she stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind her. The air was stale and cold, heavy with the scent of decay. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight that filtered through cracks in the boarded-up windows. Armed with only her flashlight, Anya began her exploration. She moved from room to room, each one a testament to a life interrupted. The dining room, once filled with laughter, was now home to spiders. The library, once a sanctuary, was now a graveyard of forgotten words. The air grew colder as Anya made her way deeper into the house. She found herself drawn to a room at the end of a long, shadowy hallway. A faint light emanated from within, flickering like a candle flame. Anya's heart pounded as she slowly pushed the door open. It was Eleanor's art studio, untouched by time. Easels stood at odd angles, their canvases blank. Brushes lay scattered across a dust-covered table. In the center of the room was a large, framed canvas, concealed beneath a white sheet. Anya's breath caught in her throat. This had to be it. Eleanor's missing self-portrait. As Anya stared at the portrait, she felt a cold hand on her shoulder, and a whisper, chillingly close to her ear, sent a shiver down her spine. "Help me!" the voice pleaded, filled with a bone-chilling despair that echoed through Anya's very being. She turned, her heart pounding in her chest, but there was no one there. The studio was empty, the only sound the creaking of the old house and the pounding of her own heart. A wave of dizziness washed over her, and for a moment the room seemed to tilt on its axis. The portrait of Eleanor Vane seemed to shimmer, her eyes locking onto Anya's with an intensity that made her gasp. The colors of the painting swirled and shifted, blurring the line between reality and nightmare, drawing Anya deeper into its depths. Anya stumbled back, her hand instinctively reaching out to steady herself, but instead of finding the wall, her fingers brushed against a cold, smooth surface. She turned, her heart sinking as she realized what had happened. The antique mirror, The cursed object that had haunted her for weeks stood behind her, its ornate frame glowing with an eerie internal light. The reflection staring back at her was no longer her own. It was Eleanor Vane, her eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and despair, her hand reaching out from the mirror's depths, her grip tightening around Anya's wrist. Anya screamed, a primal sound of terror that echoed through the empty mansion, but no one could hear her. She was trapped, her fate intertwined with that of the woman who had haunted the mirror for over a century. The studio around her dissolved, the walls, the paintings, the very air itself, melting away like a fever dream, replaced by a swirling vortex of colors and shadows. Anya struggled against the mirror's pull, her heart pounding in her chest, her mind racing, but it was futile. The mirror's grip was too strong, its hold on her soul unbreakable. She was being dragged into its depths, into the abyss of Eleanor's despair, her screams swallowed by the darkness. The last thing Anya saw before the darkness consumed her was her own reflection, her features distorted in the mirror's warped surface, her eyes wide with terror, her mouth open in a silent scream. And then, everything went black. The antique mirror, its purpose served, stood silent in the abandoned studio, its surface reflecting nothing but the empty room and the faint glimmer of moonlight filtering through the boarded-up windows. The house too was silent, its secrets kept safe within its decaying walls, its tragedy destined to repeat itself for as long as the mirror held its power. Anya's fate, like that of Eleanor Vane before her, remained a mystery, a whisper in the wind, a chilling reminder that some truths are best left buried, some stories better left untold. For the mirror, a silent witness to a century of secrets, had claimed another soul, its thirst for vengeance far from quenched. Time in the realm of the living seemed to stand still. Days turned into weeks, and Anya became a whisper in memories. The antique mirror, a silent sentinel, guarded its secrets. The house, too, remained frozen in time, a decaying monument. But within the mirror's depths, a tale of redemption unfolded. Anya found herself in a place eerily familiar, yet subtly altered. The grand Victorian mansion stood before her in all its glory. She could hear faint music, laughter, and the sounds of life. Beside her stood Eleanor Vane, her eyes filled with peace. Anya learned the truth about Eleanor's fate. She learned of her husband's greed and betrayal, the poisoned drink that ended Eleanor's life, the antique mirror a conduit to a realm beyond human comprehension. Eleanor, bound to the mirror, relived her final moments. Anya's determination shifted something within the mirror's depths. Anya offered Eleanor a voice, a chance to tell her story. Anya and Eleanor, bound by destiny, worked to expose the truth of Eleanor's murder. Their presence felt as cold spots, flickering lights, whispers in the darkness. They guided investigators to hidden evidence, leading to justice. Eleanor found peace, her torment dissipated. Anya returned, her features now etched with strength. The mirror, a reflection of her resilience and belief in truth.